Hello to all the debt warriors listening, and welcome back to another episode of Millennial Debt Domination. I'm your host, Katie Fada. I'm back this week for part 2 of my Social Security for Millennials interview with David Vinokurov. As I said in the last episode, there was so much to cover when it comes to Social Security. I had to have David back so we can keep the conversation going. If you missed part 1 of the interview, don't worry, because you can go back to your podcast feed and listen to part 1, which is the most recent episode before this. Take a listen to that episode before you listen to this episode, because there was a ton of helpful information in there. On this episode, David and I will be discussing how Social Security will change for millennials when they're of age to receive it, what happens if you become disabled before you reach retirement age, how disability works, and much more. Now, let's get to part 2 of my interview with David. Hi, David. Thanks again for coming back on the podcast to talk more about Social Security benefits.
Thanks, Catherine. It's great to be with you again.
Yeah. Okay. So since many millennials are at least 25 plus years away, probably even more, from receiving Social Security, how can Social Security change during those years? We kind of touched on this a little earlier. But
Yeah, so another great question. So right now, remember we mentioned that by 2035, if nothing's done, Social Security will only be able to pay out roughly 79 cents on the dollar. Well,
Right.
right now, there's no less than 300 bills before Congress to change and improve the system.
Okay.
Okay, and what we mean by that is that there may be change, and one of the things that we spoke about is longevity. People are just living longer. So
Right.
when the Social Security concept came out in 1935, people only lived to 65, and the starting age at that time was 65. So most people didn't even see to collect the benefits, or didn't live to collect the benefits.
Right.
So some of the suggestions or changes that may take place is that there may be higher early age to collect. Remember, we spoke about that the earliest you can collect is age 62.
Right.
Well, that may move up to 65 or 66 as the earliest. Remember, we spoke about that the full or 100% of your benefit is roughly 67. That may move up to 70. And if they give extra credit for working later or delaying collecting benefits, that may move up to age 75. Okay, so there are a lot of changes in terms of the benefit structure, and even in terms of how much you put in. That we spoke about paying 7.65% of your FICA of every paycheck. That may increase as well slightly to be able to pay more benefits to more people.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, as we kind of said earlier, people are living longer, so you kind of have to get the not consequences, but some that's
Well,
what
it's a good
happens.
thing. You know
Yeah.
what? With modern medicine, it's a good thing, but you have to figure out how to pay for it.
Yeah,
Just like
exactly. There you go.
with your home budgeting, you have to, budget according to your means and whatever. Same thing on a much bigger scale with Social Security. You have to figure out how to budget correctly so that everybody has enough money to live on.
Yeah. So, how does Social Security relate to unemployment benefits, if at all?
Yeah, so good question. Good question, especially in light of what's going on in the country right now. Um, a lot of people, unfortunately, are unemployed or going through a hard time or underemployed, really. So, Social Security, the great thing is, Social Security doesn't really relate to unemployment, because remember we spoke about that FICA person that you're paying 7.65% is on earned income. Well, the unemployment benefits are considered unearned income. So it's it's just like passive income, like from stocks or dividends or whatever, or interest on your bank account. That's all considered unearned income, and that's not taxed in terms of FICA. You may still have to pay income taxes on your unemployment benefits, both federal and in a lot of states, state income taxes, but certainly it is not taxed in terms of FICA um, for Social Security benefits.
So now, I guess we can also kind of touch on disability. So how does what happens if a millennial or any person gets disabled before reaching retirement age?
Yeah, so a great question. Basically, 1 in 6 people collect Social Security as a disabled individual. So prior to age 62.
Okay.
Okay. Um, Actually, 1/5, I should say,
Okay.
actually 1/5. 4 out of 5 beneficial, 4 out of 5, 1/5 is considered a disabled individual. And a lot of these are younger workers. So
Oh.
people, millennials think you're invincible and, the world is in your palm and everything. But
Mhm.
unfortunately, things happen, whether it's accidents or illnesses or various other things, unforeseen things. People get disabled. And basically, to qualify for Social Security, you must have worked in a job that's covered by Social Security. So you paid
Yeah.
that FICA that we spoke about.
Mhm.
Okay. The second thing that has to happen is that you have to be considered disabled. Okay, so in order to be considered disabled, you basically um, have to not be able to perform any type of work according to Social Security rules. Okay, so
Mhm.
they do a full medical evaluation to make sure that you're fully disabled according to Social Security criteria. And
Mhm.
Social Security has slightly different criteria than, your doctor may say, oh, you're eligible and whatever. That's great, but you still have to file and get the Social Security to agree that you are fully disabled according to their definition.
Okay.
Okay.
And that's important to know. So I think we kind of touched on this a little bit, but could you just explain, would you be able to explain how disability works and how much is the average amount of disability benefit?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So I just want to take a step back
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
kind of explain the age breakdown. So
Mhm.
between age 0 and 24, and this is critical to millennials, between age 0 and 24, a person can, all they need is 6 credits. Okay,
Okay.
so it's basically in 3 years, they need to earn 6 credits. And we spoke about it that it's 14 and change this year for credits.
Mhm.
Okay, so it's very critical to earn that between age 24 and 31, which is I guess the later millennials.
Mhm.
Um, you need to have worked half of that time. So during those 7 years, as long as you put in half of that, working, you may qualify for benefits.
Okay.
And after age 31, all the way up to full retirement age, you
Mhm.
need at least 20 out of the last 40 credits. So you need 5 out of the last 10 years that you worked on the Social Security system.
Okay.
Okay. That's very, very important because otherwise
Okay.
you will not qualify for benefits. The average disability benefit in 2020 is $1,261.
Okay.
$1,261 monthly. Okay.
Okay.
And in 2021, after 1.3% of cost of living increase, it's going up to 1277.
Okay.
It's going up to 1277. So these are very modest amounts,
Yeah.
as noted. So a lot of millennials may have expectations of a lot more, and this
Yeah.
is why it is so critical that we spoke about saving and investing in
Exactly.
401ks and IRAs and in taxable vehicles, because Social Security alone will not do it. You're going to have a very rough time relying strictly on Social Security system.
Yeah, you definitely have to be prepared for the unexpected in life because you
Yeah.
never know. You never know what could happen. I think this year has taught us all that.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. We're all, it's a difficult time that people are having, and you can never predict what's going to happen next. So the
Exactly.
pandemic certainly has taught us that.
Yeah, exactly. So, my next question is, what is my social security account and how do I establish one?
Yeah, so this is really critical to millennials and people really of any age. As long as you're over the age of 18, you can establish this wonderful account called My Social Security account, and it's similar to kind of Mint. I'm sure
Okay.
one of your
Yes.
podcasts you've covered Mint
Yes.
and stuff.
Yes.
But it's kind of similar to that. So it's basically a snapshot of everything that you've put into the system. So remember we spoke about the need to kind of work under the system and
Yes.
receive those credits, the
Yes.
1410 in 2020 and 1470 in 2021. Well, that this account will show you how much you put into the system to make sure that your credits are crediting properly in the system. Nobody thinks about it right now, but in 40, 50 years, this is going to be critical. So you want to make sure that this information is correct right now, because unfortunately, in 40 years from now, you're not going to have that information readily available to you to be able to prove that Social Security has blank years. Okay.
Hmm.
Now, how do these credits appear on this My Social Security, right? You don't report your income to Social Security, right? Nobody
Hmm.
reports their income. Nobody files their income taxes with Social Security Administration, right?
Right.
So Social Security Administration gets that information directly from the IRS. Now, sometimes the two don't talk or don't play nicely together,
Hmm.
and information doesn't transfer correctly, okay,
Hmm.
to your correct account. So by having this My Social Security account, you can check it on a yearly basis. It usually gets updated 2 to 3 months after you file your taxes. So once you file your taxes by April 15th of every year with the IRS administration, it updates automatically or should update automatically to the Security Administration. If it doesn't, okay, all you have to do is bring in your tax return to your Social Security office, the local office, and
Hmm.
they will update that information for you correctly in their system. And then you'll see it on my Social Security account. The other wonderful things that you can do is, let's say you need a replacement Social Security card. Well, voila, you go right online and request a new card, and they'll get the card right out to you. Okay.
Okay.
You can also do what if scenarios. You can do personalized retirement of your future benefits estimates. So let's say you're a great planner like Catherine and
Hmm.
is looking forward, how much am I going to get in 40 years from Social Security and whatnot? Well, you can do a customized kind of plan based on your last year's earnings and project out to the future. So let's say you want to be conservative, you can project out whatever it is that you're making right now, with the assumption hopefully you'll make more in the future. Okay, but at least you can get an idea of what the benefits will be for yourself. You can also do the same thing for your spouse's benefits under your number. Okay, if a person has a spouse. Um, there's also you can get proof that sometimes you need proof if you're filing for loans or various other instruments. A financial institution like a bank or whatever will ask you for that you're not receiving benefits. You may have received these benefits as a child. There's a lot of millennials that have received benefits as a child because their parents were either disabled or deceased or retired, and they were receiving benefits on their number. But now the financial institution may ask that you are not receiving benefits. You can get that negative kind of proof letter from My Social Security. If a millennial filed for benefits, they can check. They can file right online through that My Social Security portal. They can also check the status of their application right through that portal. Okay. If there's any mailings that Social Security does, the person can opt out of those mailings simply by going right online and having their those mailings sent electronically to their inbox. They can also print a verification letter and change their address if they need to, if they're collecting benefits. Okay, so there's a lot of really great benefit to having a My Social Security account. And the wonderful thing is it's quick and it's secure. It
Yeah.
has never been breached, um, by anybody.
Yeah, that's awesome. I did not know all that. So I'm definitely going to put the information for that in the description of this podcast as well. It seems like it's super easy to figure out, especially, for
Yeah,
millennials.
absolutely. And you'll have the link right up there. Everybody should go up and sign for one of these accounts.
Yeah, absolutely. That'll help them a lot.
Hmm.
Okay, so I know this kind of whole podcast we've been focusing on millennials. So since I'm going to talk about one question about Generation Z. So since the Generation Z, they're from 0 to 24 years old, will they be able to receive Social Security benefits when it's their time? Could be like
Yeah.
60 years from now.
Yeah, Catherine, great question.
Hmm.
I think definitely I myself have a 10-year-old daughter.
Hmm.
She's in that
Yeah.
Generation Z
Mhm.
category, and
Yeah.
I strongly believe that yes,
Okay.
changes will certainly have to be made. The political parties will have to come
Mhm.
together, but definitely, this is Social Security is one of the most popular and one of the most successful programs, not just in the United States, but in the entire world. It is not perfect, certainly by any stretch of the imagination, but it is one of the best ways to keep people out of poverty. And it really benefits everybody from Generation Z to your great parents and
Mhm.
great grandparents.
Yeah.
And SSA Social Security will continue to help people today, tomorrow, and in the future generations to come.
Yeah, they should definitely still be taking advantage of other savings too, just like every other generation.
Always, always.
Yeah.
That's more critical than ever because again, with the disappearance of defined benefit pension plans, the 401ks, IRAs, and taxable instruments will be more critical than ever as part of a really well balanced financial retirement portfolio.
Yeah, definitely. Well, David, thank you for coming back on the podcast and answering every question I ever had about Social Security benefits.
Catherine, thank you so much for having me again. And it's really been a pleasure spending the time with you and answering all these questions, anything and everything you ever wanted to know about Social Security. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you again. Who knew there were so many ways Social Security could affect millennials and Gen Zers? Since millennials and especially Gen Zers are so far away from retiring, Social Security isn't usually a thought on their minds. The thought of being able to retire and collect Social Security seems unfathomable to many young people, but it's actually not. I think David also did a great job at explaining disability and how it can affect your Social Security. My Social Security is also something I didn't know about before my chat with David. I think it's such a great and easy to use resource for all people. Everything you need to do for your Social Security can be accessed through this account, and it's super safe to use. In part one of this podcast, David mentioned how Social Security wasn't going to go away and it will be around for millennials to obtain. Rest assured, Gen Zers, David is also confident that there will be enough Social Security for you too when you reach retirement age. Although some aspects might change, there will be money for you to collect when you're ready to receive Social Security. With that being said, this wraps up another episode of Millennial Debt Domination. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast wherever you're listening. And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, please rate and review us there. I'll talk to you next time, Millennials, Gen Zers, and everyone else listening. Bye.